Warning! This video may not be suitable for your children.
Teacher's Review.
What's up? It's good to see you again. Always enjoy our conversations, but I need to give you a second warning right now. This video may not be suitable for your children, or you may use it as a teaching tool to have what can be an awkward conversation with them. Either way is up to you, but I want you to have a heads up just in case you somehow ended up on this video not knowing what you were clicking on. Now you've had your heads up. Today we're going to talk about masturbation. I know, it just rolls right off the tongue so easy. But we are going to be talking about, what does the Bible say? Is masturbation a sin? And this is the beginning of a series of videos that I'm going to be doing called What Does the Bible Say? We're going to be covering different topics, asking ourselves what the Bible says about them. Are they a sin? Are they not a sin? How are we supposed to feel about this? How are we supposed to see this? What are we supposed to do in this situation? All of these topics are going to be different things that concern my life and concern your life. So, if you have any ideas or any questions about the Bible, please put them in the comments below. You never know, we might actually see your question being the subject of one of my videos. That'd be pretty cool, right? Justin, what are you doing starting a series with this topic? Well, I wanted to break down the barriers of what me and you can talk about. You see, I think true growth happens with true vulnerability, and that only happens in uncomfortable conversations. As far as the topic of masturbation, it's something I've struggled with. I would have considered myself an addict to masturbation and pornography at one time. But you're going to hear more about that story at the end of the video, so you got to stick around for that, because you're also going to hear how God handled me through the process. But first, we're going to talk about the science of this whole thing, and specifically the benefits. Yes, there are benefits, but before you stop watching the video, hear me out. Studies show that the act of masturbation sends out neurotransmitters into your body. And basically, this is your body's messengers communicating throughout. So one nerve cell is speaking to another nerve cell through these neurotransmitters. This allows for movement and thought and all kinds of other things. 3 examples of the neurotransmitters that are sent out during this act are dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. Now, dopamine signals pleasure to your nervous system. Serotonin will help you regulate anxiety, and oxytocin is often called the love hormone because it allows your body to trust and to create a bond. So, the act of masturbation actually increases your pleasure, it increases your relaxation, and it creates a bonding environment. All of these things open the pathway to your reward system in your brain. Now, is there a downside to this? Scientifically, yes. When you're constantly activating this pathway to reward in your brain, you are desensitizing yourself to pleasure. You're quite literally changing the chemistry of your brain. It's not something you're going to see overnight. It's not something you're going to see in a week. But over a long period of time, your brain is going to be less susceptible to being able to acknowledge pleasure. I'm sure you can take it from here, right, on what might happen. You may need more stimulation to feel more pleasure, which could lead to a variety of issues, including being more prone to depression and anxiety, or going to new links to feel that same amount of pleasure that you felt before. This can be happening and you not even know it. So this habit could be causing you issues that you're not even aware of. Hey, I want you to stop right now, and if you are getting value in this video, hit the like button, share it with a friend, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Now, the question at hand, what does the Bible say? Well, not much, to be honest, at least not directly aimed at the act of masturbation. We do have an account in the book of Genesis in chapter 38, of a story that is similar to the act of masturbation. And basically, this is an account where we see there's a man named Judah and his wife Shua, and they have 3 sons. The oldest son's name is and takes a wife named Tamar. But in the Bible, it says that was wicked, so the Lord killed him. And at this point, he didn't have an heir. Him and his wife had not had a child. And in that day and time, in the Mosaic law, the law that the people of God followed, the rules were that because didn't have an heir, his next oldest brother would have to marry his wife and have a child, and that first child would be the heir to Now, did have a younger brother named Onan, but Onan didn't like this plan. And we'll see what happens to him in verse 9 and 10. But Onan knew that the heir would not be his, and it came to pass, when he went into his brother's wife, that he emitted on the ground, lest he should give an heir to his brother. And the things which he did displeased the Lord, and therefore he killed him also. A lot of people use this verse and this story as an argument to prove that masturbation is a sin, but in context, it's really not even addressing that. Onan was rebellious because he refused to provide an heir for his brother who had passed away. He was rebellious against the Mosaic law. This is not addressing masturbation. So it kind of feels like this argument that a lot of people make is, for one, inaccurate, and two, kind of lazy. I actually feel like right now we might not even be asking the right question. I wonder if we don't need to look at the act of masturbation, but maybe something a little deeper than that. Stick with me here. Let's turn to Matthew chapter 5, verse 27. You have heard that it was said, to those of old, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you, that whoever looks at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. If your right eye causes you to sin, pluck it out, cast it out from you. For it is more profitable for you that one of your members perish, than for your whole body to be cast into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off, cast it from you. For it is more profitable for you that one of your members perish than for your whole body to be cast into hell. Wow, Jesus really went in on that one, right? I think we've all failed there. And I think if we were living by this rule, all of us would be missing an eye or a hand. Because we've all lusted at some point, men and women. But what I want you to pay attention to is what Jesus is pointing to. He's pointing to the condition of your heart. And what he's really saying is, if there's anything that is pulling your heart away from God, get rid of it. So I think maybe we're not even approaching this right. I think maybe we shouldn't be focusing on the act of masturbation. I think we do that too much. At least in the American church where I'm from, we focus on behavior modification a lot. Behavior modification in the sense of like, you need to change what you're doing instead of life transformation. You need to let God change who you are. And I think this is the place that Jesus is pointing to. Let God change your heart. Because if your life changes, if your heart changes, your behavior will follow to match that. So I think when we're talking about the act of masturbation and we're looking at the sinful nature of it, is it a sin or is it not a sin? There's better questions. Like, why do I feel the need to commit this act? In this case, masturbation. What is happening in my heart that makes me desire this so much? Or maybe we could ask, does this act draw me closer to God? And a quick way to check that is, how do you feel afterwards? Do you feel like running towards God or away from God? Romans 12 talks about this when it says, if there is anything that you believe is wrong and you do it anyways, that is a sin for you. Now in this case, Paul's talking about food, but I believe that this principle carries on throughout. If there are things that we know in our hearts we feel guilty about, we are concerned if this is good or bad, I think it is better for us not to do those things, because that is a sin for us. We are ignoring our own convictions, the things that are on our heart that we feel are wrong. Now, I don't have to push those convictions onto you, but I should not be ignoring those convictions in myself. For me, I was addicted to pornography and masturbation. I struggled with this addiction because it was something that I did every day, multiple times a day. And I hid it and lied about it to everybody the whole time. When I began my walk with the Lord, this was something that I stumbled over multiple times. I put down alcohol, cigarettes, sex way before I was able to stop this addiction to masturbation and pornography. This thing caused me to mess up over and over and over again. And in that, it stole my joy. And to be honest, it stole the joy that I had in my marriage, because when I got married, God had to walk me through a whole rewiring process in my brain, because I had rewired the chemistry in my brain so much that I just had really unhealthy, unrealistic, and unfulfillable visions of what sex should be, was supposed to be. It messed everything up in my brain. The way I looked at the world, the way I looked at women was not okay. So God walked me through that, and I messed up time and time again. And what I found was that the enemy is really good at convincing you that something is no big deal, and then making you feel like trash after the fact. I felt that over and over and over again. But what I also felt was God picking me up and dusting me off and giving me another chance to learn and another chance to grow. And eventually, He walked me into victory over this addiction that I had. So, what do I believe the Bible says about the act of masturbation? I believe the Bible goes deeper than that. And I believe that it calls us to examine all of our actions to see if they pull our hearts away from God. When I examine the act of masturbation in my life, I see that it does pull me away from God. I see that when I've done that in the past, my immediate reaction was to hide from God. I see that it puts me way too close to lust in my heart. And I see that it is a door that I cannot open, because that door leads to sin for me, and it leads to addiction. And I've got some links in the description right now that if you feel like you are struggling with addiction to pornography or masturbation, look at those links. One of them is called There Is Still Hope, and it leads you to a website, thereisstillhope.org. This is an organization that, to be honest, I've had friends go through their program. It helped them immensely. But they are there for sexual addiction. And yes, that includes addiction to pornography and addiction to masturbating. Um, there's resources on this website. They got a program that consists of counseling and therapy that you can go through, because you're not just wanting to deal with this addiction that you may have, but you're wanting to see, where is it coming from? Why am I running to this to heal my wounds? I also have some other resources, and it's really this guy named Joshua Broome. And I've gotten to hear his testimony and see some different things. And what I will tell you is very interesting about him is that he is a Christian who has come out of the pornography industry. He has been a leading actor in that industry, and then had an encounter with Jesus and turned his life in an entirely different direction. And now he shares his testimony. But what I have found the most interesting and heartbreaking, really, is when he talks about his friends and the things that have happened to them in the industry, specifically suicide. The numbers that he throws out and the statistics that he's offering are really mind-blowing, and they give you a different outlook on what that industry is all about. Because a lot of times we can say that this is something that we do by ourselves and it doesn't hurt anybody else. But the fact is there are people hurting, and there are people actually losing their lives in this industry. So you've got those resources in the link below. You've also got another resource coming up. If you found value in this video, I want you to hold on to the next video because I'm going to offer you 5 tips to help you study the Bible. I'll see you there.